They're excited. I'm excited. Welcome into another episode of the Young Dad Podcast. Excited to be with you. Happy to be with you. Happy, healthy, thriving, all the things. Before we jump too far into the podcast today, I do just want to invite and encourage and twist your arm just a little bit to go down to the description of the episode, no matter where you're watching, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify. If you're listening on Apple or any other audio-only platform, all the descriptions are the same. Very top of that, there's a link to subscribe to the email newsletter. Please go and subscribe to the email newsletter. It comes out twice a week. Great things are in there. You get the first dibs on the links to the episode. You get dad hacks, dad advice, mental health tips. You get all the things within that newsletter between the two of them. So it's super great. It's a great little resource. So please subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost you nothing. I'm not trying to get an email list to sell it off or anything like that. So please subscribe and enjoy the newsletters. So that's all I got at the top. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest today. I'm Mr. Nice Guy on the show. Mr. Nice Guy, you run the podcast Farewell, Mr. Nice Guy, a podcast about fatherhood, navigating the court system, and a variation of other topics. And that's pretty much the gist of it. So tell us about you. Tell us about the podcast. Tell us about the origins of it. And yeah, tell us about you as a dad too.
Okay, well, you can call me MNG. Like Mr. Nice Guy. I love it. So the podcast, so Farewell Mr. Nice Guy came about. My mom had actually told me that I should start a podcast. And I had did previous podcasts. I was on this one podcast called Skip the Formalities. And then I was managing and producing that one with a group of friends. And we were kind of playing around. So we did about like 40 episodes there. And I kind of fell in love with the podcast type of thing because we was already doing it in a circle. We would get in a circle, had these conversations, and it'd be really in-depth conversations. And somebody one day was like, well, we should just start a podcast. And I was like, okay, cool. So it took a few months for us to actually get it together. We got it together, and eventually it fell apart. So I was invited onto another podcast with another group of people, and I really didn't care how they was doing their podcast. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool, but I still had that podcast bug. So my mom was like, well, you should go ahead and start your own podcast. I'm like, well, what am I going to talk about? I have nothing to talk about. And she was like, well, you love to talk. I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, to have a gift of gab is good, but when you ain't got to talk about, like, what are you going to talk about? So I was looking at my son, and I was like, man, I have a great story. I took custody of my son. I walked through the court system. I worked for the court system. So I had the best of both worlds to be able to go and tell young man how to either avoid or succeed in this system. So Farewell Mr. Nice Guy was actually a blog site that I had where I was also telling my story on a blog site. So and one of the things, because I love to write, so I was typing out my story, and I was like, the blog was good, but it wasn't getting traction. So I had the name, but it was a blog first, and then I was like, well, let me turn it into a YouTube channel. Well, I turned it into Spotify first. Then I turned it into a YouTube channel, and it's like, all right, well, I know all of this production stuff. Like I was doing cartoons first, and I was producing my cartoons. So I knew all the production value, knew all that stuff. And then it was like, okay, well, now you can apply this to a YouTube channel. You could tell your story. And I just have been having a blast with telling my story, meeting other individuals that are in the same situation or have been associated with some situation or the system. And they've been able to tell their stories and building that network. And it's been such a joy and a pleasure to be a part of a network where I felt alone for so many years. Did that make sense?
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. Definitely does make sense because I've been there. I've been through it. I've been through a divorce. I've been through navigating the court system. I've been through it in a couple different ways now. 3 years later, 3 years removed from where it initially started. And initially, it was just me going to court. going through all the court motions, things like that you have to do. And now in my job, I've worked for the last year. I work in mental health. I work with youth and families. And so I've had the opportunity to go and support families in court. So I've been on like the other side, kind of seeing it through this outside lens, outside looking in,
Mhm.
being able to sit in the courtroom during these different trials and these hearings and hear it go down essentially in real time. Different situations, what it looks like, how it plays out, helping families get their ducks in a row, essentially, their court paperwork together. So I've seen it really interesting now, and it's a lonely road to walk. It's scary. It's scary at the same time because it's how do I say it? Like it's scary because it's scary for fathers. You know what I mean? Like it's scary for fathers because you don't know what's gonna happen.
Right.
You hear stories your entire life pretty much, and it's something that you honestly, at least for me, you try to avoid no matter what because you don't want to do it because you know what's likely going to happen. Especially when you take the political aspects of it, you add politics into it and everything like that. You look at,
Yeah.
and then you just like zoom it in even further. You look at your local level, you look at your local landscape, your local community, what the outcome likely could be based on your county that you live in. You zoom in that far, and it's terrifying for a dad to go through that process because no one educates you on how to do it. B,
Nope.
no one tells you how expensive it's going to be. You hear different stories. And C, no one tells you how mentally draining it's going to be. No one tells you how much time you're going to need to take off work. No one tells you how much paperwork you're going to need to do. No one tells you how hard it is to find an attorney to represent you. No one tells you how much that attorney costs off the bat. There's no like guide to it to say like, look, this is how much an attorney should cost. If they're trying to charge you more than this, they're trying to screw you. And then when you are talking to attorneys, there's so many out there that are just shady. You know what I mean? Like some are out there like, oh, so we trying to take her down, we try to screw her over, we try to do this, that, or the other to him, her. It's like I just want to be able to see my kids,
And
kind of thing. So
and let me tell you this. So when I started my case against me, myself. I started my own case. Okay. And you would think that because I started my case, I would be the plaintiff, right? No. I started my own case and I became the defendant. How does the defendant start their own case against them? So when I did go get an attorney and try to have a conversation with the attorney, when we get to court, he didn't say nothing. The judge primarily talked to me. He just stood there and I'm like, so I paid you $1,500 to come and stand in this nice suit you wearing for nothing. The most he did was broker a conversation with my son's mother to tell her that she should let him come along with me. And the only thing she wanted was $100 a month just to release custody. And that was it. And he did nothing. That's about the only thing of value that he did for $1,500. And without that, I'll probably be standing there still arguing in court. So I don't believe that you need an attorney to go to court.
100%.
But I do believe that you need an attorney for advisement.
I agree.
They can
with that.
advise you on what you need to do. But the problem with advisement is that they're going to charge you to come in and have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
When you go in there and have the conversation, you need to have all your documentation, all your ducks in a row, and you need to be able to know the terminology and the process. Now, unfortunately, for whatever state you're probably in, if you do go down to the county clerks or whomever is handling your case, they're probably not going to tell you the process because they may consider it legal advice. Oh, we can't tell you the process because it's legal advice. It's not legal advice to tell somebody the process of what's happening. You know the process when you get a ticket, you speed, you get a ticket, you either going to pay it or you're going to go in front of the magistrate or whomever. And then if you don't like the decision, you can appeal it and then you can go up to a judge. That's the process. You know what happens when you go and vote. They send you a card, ask you to go and vote. You go vote. They tell you what you need to fill out. You slip it in here, and then you go about your business. It's simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
No,
when you're going
100%.
through the court system, they will not tell you the process on what's going to happen to you. They can't tell you a decision, but they're going to tell you, hey, this is the paperwork that you may want to fill out if you're trying to do this. This is what a motion does. They don't tell you terminology. That's not legal advice to tell you that stuff. It's the process. That's all it is. It's the process. I've worked in the court system, and if telling somebody the process is legal advice and they need to go and get an attorney, then it's like, why would people go to school for law?
Right.
To learn the law. They do mock trials and all of that stuff. Like it's crazy to me because they disarm you so you can't be able to go in there and defend yourself.
Exactly. And I personally didn't have an attorney when I went through my divorce and parenting plan and family court and all that. Because I handled my own case. I handled all my paperwork. I handled all my getting all my signatures, filling out all my paperwork, understanding it. I didn't have no problem with it. That was just me. My case, it wasn't that complicated. I knew what I was doing. It was more or less applicable, whatever the hell that word is. Words are hard sometimes.
Yeah,
but no, you're right. Like, I remember going down to the county clerk's office, or I hear about it now with work and the work I do with other people, other families. It's like I went down to the county clerk's office just to ask what document I needed, and they're like, "Oh, well, I can't tell you that because it's legal advice." It's like, what? Like, it's just, can you just give me the piece of paper?
Exactly.
Like, I'll pay you for it. Like, just give me the piece of paper I need, or just give me the packet. I know, I see the fucking papers right there behind you. Like, I know they're right there. I've been here before and gotten them. So what's the problem this time? And it's like, it's not legal advice to just give someone a piece of paper and say, here you go, this is the documents you need. That's literally your job, is to give paperwork, receive paperwork, and file paperwork. That's literally your whole job, and collect a couple payments here and there. That's it. I don't need you to tell me all this stuff. You just got to hand me the piece of paper, tell me what courtroom to go to, or point me or give me the number to whoever I need to call next to set this up. That's all I need from you. I'll figure it out from there if I have to. But just the fact that you can't even give me the paperwork, like, come on. You're gonna make me go online and research. It's ridiculous.
It sounds so simple, but yet so difficult. And I understand giving legal advice can get you in trouble. I get that. But if I'm saying, look, I want to sue somebody, I want to file this case, you can't tell me whether it's going to be a small claims or a general civil just by process. You can say, well, there's general civil, this is how much you can sue for here, and then this is how much you can sue for here, and this is the process. That's not legal advice. That's instructions.
Yes. Or just give you a piece of paper, slide you a little piece of paper through the windows, like, well, these are the different kind of claims. And it says it right there on that little piece of paper, side-by-side comparison. I could make that document. I can make that document with ChatGPT if I really wanted to. You know?
Matter of fact, they'll give it to you in a pamphlet. They'll give it to you in a pamphlet, but they won't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same information in a pamphlet. So you can pass a pamphlet out, but you can't tell me.
Yeah. You have to tell them what you need is specifically, like, you need this specific document titled this thing, titled, you know, whatever 31.6.2.5, whatever. You need these different documents for this specific thing, and then they'll hand you it. Once you tell them the specifics of what you're looking for, then they'll give it to you. But no, they won't just ask you further questions to try to help. Help the process, make it easier, which is ridiculous as a whole. Because if you got a ticket and you needed to appeal it, they're going to tell you all the things you need to know for that.
Exactly.
So
they'll tell you when you got to pay a warrant.
oh yeah, they'll tell you for sure when you got to pay your warrant.
They'll tell you the whole process to get that money, but they won't tell you how to try to beat the system or even try to start your case, file a motion, anything. Like it's ridiculous the information that they keep from you in order to collect money. And the funny part about it is that when you were talking about child support court, it's a state case. The state initiates this case against you, so they don't want you to have the information. They don't want you to win. They want to be able to collect what they paid out. All it is a debt collection system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all money, man. It's all money. It's all ties back to money in one way, shape, or form, which shouldn't really be a shock to anyone. But it's just kind of the way it is, unfortunately. It all ties back to money in some way, shape, or form. It's all, if you follow it far enough, follow it back deep enough, it is what it is. So it sucks. And then child support never really makes sense, to me at least. I have people I've worked with at work that end up having 50-50 with their their ex, and they're still paying child support, but they have 50-50 custody. It's like, if you are parenting and doing just as much as they are, that shouldn't be a thing.
It shouldn't be.
And then on top of that, like, child support is used for the kid. How often do you see in social media child support being used and abused the wrong way?
Often. Very often. So the thing with that 50-50. So it's funny because we're doing a live this weekend on equality. And one of the questions that I brought up was, what is 50-50? Like, there are relationships out there where they want all 100% on a man, no 50-50. When the man pay everything, we want 50-50 and everything, all that. But then when you get into like divorce and everything, and the divorce is not considered 50-50 because the man is going to get castrated in court because the women pretty much going to take everything, which is the crazy part. Then you have the child support system where it's not going to be 50-50, and the calculation. I remember asking the judge about the calculation of child support. Even trying to look the calculation up, and the calculation is difficult. And they say, well, it goes based on how much you pay. How much you make. Okay, so it goes based on how much I make. So she makes more than me, I still have to pay child support. But in some situations, it's a little different now, but in some situations, if I'm making more than her, I'm still going to pay out the majority of child support. And more likely, this person probably not working or decided to stay in a low-income job because they decided they're going to probably leave eventually and not excel more, just so they could be able to get more money out of alimony and child support. Mm-hmm. First of all, I don't even understand alimony. Mm-hmm. Like, why am I keeping up your lifestyle and you the one decided to leave? You're leaving, and I gotta pay you alimony. That makes no sense. I think there needs to be a reform of the child support system. I think there needs to be investigations into both parents' lives to determine who is the best suited parent to take care of the child and who should be paying child support. Because there's no way that that the child should just automatically go with the mother and the father is not even considered in a conversation. Not even considered. That makes absolutely no sense. So, like, in my situation, when I got custody of my son, I didn't want child support from my son's mother. But what ended up happening is they ended up putting child support on her. And based on the money amount that she put down, we were only getting $40 a month compared to the $140 that I was paying a month. And she didn't even have him all the time. I had him 5 days out of the week, sometimes 7, and you're getting $140 a month to do what exactly? You're not even taking care of the child. Where is this money going? Where's this money going? To this day, and my son's about to be 18 this year, this day, I still have money on the books that's owed. I still have money on the books right now that's owed. And she's paying $40 a month. I think it's even less now. So
Yeah.
what did you do with that?
I mean, it makes no sense. Like, how does someone that makes more pay less, and the person that makes less pay more? Just because of their role in all this, because they're the father versus the mother. I absolutely
Yep.
agree with you that there needs to be a strict reform of child support, because it makes no sense. It makes no sense. The calculations are impossible. Like, I've seen the sheets, obviously. I don't understand how they calculate everything.
I don't either.
There's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, if you look at it, you can pull it up online for your state. It's out there. You can search like your family court documents and search child support, like a breakdown or something, or calculator or whatever. It makes no sense. I don't think it'll ever make sense. But it needs to absolutely be tracked on the back end. Once it's paid, I fully support child support going on like the same kind of system, like an EBT card or something, you know, where it can go for clothes, food, diapers, formula, stuff like that, to where it's absolute essentials to take care of basic needs. You know, but you can't use it to maintain your household. You know, it's not for paying your electric. It's not for paying your water bill. It's not for paying your rent, kind of things like that. That's on you to me, that's on me as a parent, right? Like, I need to provide those things anyway. Like, this child support is to support their basic needs, their food, their water, their clothes, their things like that, specifically for them to have enough to live, not to maintain my lifestyle, not to maintain that, because that's my choice. If it's my choice to live in a place that I realistically can't afford versus a place that I know I can afford, well, I need to figure that out. That's not on me to rely on the court system to pay me for that kind of thing when I'm only having my kid half the time. No, I'm not. It doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not paying for you. And then, if it is a thing that doesn't make no sense, child support should have a statute on it to where it's reevaluated every 2 years, to where there's a hearing every 2-3 years to say, hey, what are your incomes now? Where are you guys both at now? Oh, snap, lady, you're making $20,000 more than you were, or you got married and now your household's bringing in this much. Oh, y'all don't need it no more. We're taking that away from you, kind of thing. Oh, you lost your job, man, and now but you're re-looking for a new job, and you're trying, and you've still been fighting and supporting your kids through and through. Oh, you also are providing these receipts that you paid for the yearbook, you paid for the extracurricular, you paid for the school picture, you paid for this, that, and the other. She's not even holding up her end of the bargain to pay you half back. Like, in my Venmo account, I have stuff from 2022 and 2023 that I still ain't got paid back the half for. But in our court paperwork that I have to get paid back that half. I know she got money. I know she got it. I know that her between her and her husband, they got it. She just don't pay it.
And they let it ride.
I'm like, this is like how long that's been in there. If I really wanted to be a dick, if I really wanted to do it, I could go take this evidence, this clear-cut evidence of you not paying, holding up your end, and go hold you in contempt multiple times over for this kind of thing. If I really wanted to. And I don't want to go through all that trouble and effort and stuff.
And that's the thing. Like, I never really wanted to go back to court and file motions. And the reason why I didn't want to go back to court and file motions, and I could have done it, it wouldn't have been a problem. But it's the fear that if I go back to court, they're gonna reverse the order, and my son goes back with her, and then I end up back on child support, paying way more than I previously did. Why would I want to go and fight that battle? It's not worth the energy to go and fight that battle.
Absolutely not.
Because I'm going to lose. That's the exact mindset. If she wanted to go and file a motion, they're gonna make a whole hearing out of it. I go and file a motion. My assumption is once I walk into that courtroom, I'm going to lose.
You already lost.
They're going to take my son back, and they're going to give him right back to her, and I'm right back on child support, right where I started. And now I'm paying more because I'm making more. So now I'm gonna pay more to the court system so they can get back all the money they got back on the books. So I just never went. And everybody's like, go back to court and get more money. Hell no. I'm not about to go back to court and get more money. I don't even want to test the water unless I know for sure I can go to court and win. I'm not even about to walk in there and make an attempt because it's not a fair playing ground at all. So the mindset that the mindset to think that I'm going to go in there and win just because I've had custody of him for 10 years, that's non-existent.
They don't care about that.
Because they'll switch it like that.
They'll turn it on you somehow. And it makes a lot of sense. Like my brother-in-law, I'm just recently remarried at the time of this coming out and everything. Time of this recording, I'm remarried.
Congratulations.
Now, thank you. And my brother-in-law, he has a 9-year-old, my 9-year-old niece. She's the sweetest little girl. She's so sweet. He gets her Wednesdays after school until she gets picked up, and then every other weekend. And just when I see this little girl interacting with her dad, I'm like, man, this little girl wants her dad. This little girl craves being with her dad. This little girl wants to be with him more. And like she asks her mom, like, can I go over there this weekend? We're not doing anything. Can I go hang out with dad? Can I go over to grandma and grandpa's and hang out over there? And her mom's like, no. It's like, come on. And it's like, bro, like we gotta figure this out. Like you haven't done anything that says otherwise, that you aren't deserving of more time with this little girl. Like there's nothing that says it. Like I've seen it for a year now. You are there every single weekend of your time. You've never missed a day. You've been sick, you keep her. You need to pick her up from school because her mom asks, you're there. You need to do this for her, you're there. You need to do this for her, you're there. You support her in this way, you're there. Like you have fully and then some met your burden of, and put in a like court term. Like you've gone far and beyond the burden that was asked of you by the court. Like there is no way, shape, or form that you shouldn't be entitled to more. I encourage him. His dad encourages him. His mom encourages him. His sisters encourage him. We all have his back. We're like, we will all write statements tonight to do this tomorrow with you. I'm like, bro, I know how it works. I know what paperwork. I know what papers to fill out. Like, I got you. Let's just do it. Like, I know how much you want this girl, like, in your life more. I know how much you miss her when she's not around, and how much you want her to be around more and be with you more. Like, you're in a good place right now. Like, you have a home. Like, you're in a great relationship. Like, everything is stable right now for you. Like, the court can't find no holes in you right now for your parenting, for everything you've done. And he's hesitant to do it because he doesn't want to lose what he has. He doesn't want to get into a whole battle. He doesn't want it to blow up into something and affect her. And it's like, bro, it's hard because, like, yes, I get that 100%. Like, would I go back tomorrow and start fighting for my kids to be with me 75% of the time? Absolutely. Would I want to get to 100? Absolutely. Do I see the value in that than being with me versus her? Absolutely. But again, that's really hard because there's so many factors and everything in there. So I don't want to take that away, and I understand that part of it too because I've been there. I feel that same way. But at the same time, like, She deserves to be with her dad as much as she's with her mom. And experience that as she gets older. You know, she's 8 going on 9, so she's only getting older and more into those years where she needs her dad to be around more, not once a week and then on weekends every other weekend. 5 days a month kind of thing. She needs more. She needs more than that. And if anything, the kids are entitled to that. Not so much the parents, but the kids are entitled to have equal access to both parents. The kids are entitled to be with their parents if they are able to, and very obviously able to show that they can do it, as much as they can. Consent laws in our state, I believe a child has to be 12 or 13, and then they can speak for themselves who they want to go and be with, more or less, kind of thing. So, part of it is, she's only a couple years away from that, and then she can, speak for herself in that way. And so it's just hard. It's such a fine line, but the kids deserve it. It gets so caught up in the systematic stuff to where it's system says this thing because system needs money, system needs to keep going, system needs to push out, the agendas of those set before it, kind of thing. The system don't care about the kid at the end of the day. Occasionally they do. The system cares more about mothers and keeping fathers out of homes, keeping fathers out of the picture, because that keeps the cycle going. We're 3 generations into this now, almost 4 generations into this cycle, if not more. You can go back even further to early presidencies before slavery was abolished in the U.S. The government, Lyndon B. Johnson, a perfect example, tried to keep people down. Don't teach women how to read. Don't teach slaves how to read. Because if you teach them literacy, they get power and they're not reliant on the government anymore.
I agree.
And it's just,
I agree.
It was just how it happened. And then they pushed that. Lyndon B. Johnson, same thing. If we remove fathers out of the home and we give the mothers welfare and incentivize them to be on their own and we pay them, then they rely on us, then it's perfect. They always rely on us. Their kids will rely on us. Their kids will rely on us. Their kids will always rely on us because we set that precedent that, you have to rely on the government for this stuff. You have to, if you want to get it, cool. And there's this video, I can't remember where I seen it, but this lady saying that she was dating this older man. She's African American. Her man she was dating for 10 plus years had a lot of money. And sure enough, when all the bills were due, he would pay the bills. He would pay the bill. But he would never give her $1 more or a cent more than she needed because he knew it would keep her coming back.
Right.
Same with welfare, kind of thing. It keeps you coming back because it provides you just enough, but not too much. Keeps you coming back, keeps you reliant on them, so that then they can launder money out all over the place else. Well, why fix the issues here? Why go down into the hoods and fix the issues in the hood? Go give the people in the hood the money to overcome their poverty. When we have a poverty level of 41% in the United States, highest in the world, 41% of Americans are living under the poverty line. 41%. Most other countries, 7 max. 34% more than other first world countries. 34% more than China, who is a leading economic. India, 6%. Like, there's a difference. There's something wrong. That shows how big of an issue there is, or starts to show it.
So when we look at poverty, and 41% of poverty is extremely high, and I'm pretty sure the number of homeless people is probably around the same amount. So
Yeah.
the government, if we take a look, if we just look at just recent situations, the government has billions of dollars in warheads and all that technology to send over to a country to help them fight a war, but don't have the necessary money to be able to build houses for homeless people.
I don't even think the money ends up going over there. The money doesn't even end up going over there.
I think it ends up going over there. How they use it is completely different, but I think the money does go over there.
I think it goes over and then it comes back into their pockets in one way, shape, or form. Like it goes out, gets dispersed, and then it comes back into their pocket. It's just laundered. It's just money laundering.
It's a trade agreement. So we'll give. So they say we give you money, but you got resources that we can get from you, and we gonna get them resources from you for free, because we already gave you money for your war. So now we're gonna take the resources and make double, triple than what we just gave you to fund to pay for your war. So that's how that works. You know, even when Bush was in office and they went over there to fight in the Middle East they wanted that oil.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted that oil. So yeah, we're gonna go over there and we're gonna start this war because we want to get that oil. And then once we go ahead and occupy it, we're gonna put the oil for free.
Man, some of that oil will be real nice right now with them gas prices going back up. Just saying. Just saying. If we could get some of that back a little bit.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I think gas prices still gonna be high because, and even jumping back to poverty.
Yeah, of course.
If we look at it, we live in such a capitalistic country that you have people that make a lot of money, regardless of what they're doing so far. Well, not regardless of what they're doing, but if they're an entrepreneur and they're building a business or they're part of a big business, they're making money. The problem is that money is not trickling down towards people. People that own businesses, in some cases, especially if they have a successful business, can pay a living wage. But because it's a capitalistic country, because they're greedy, I'm going to pay my employees $15 an hour, but I'm going to pay myself $50, $60, $70 an hour to come in, run a business, and hear the conversations of my employees struggling, and then go drive off in my Benz. Come on now, that's rude. I recently, not recently, but a few years ago, I seen a video of a young lady that had a business, and she paid all her employees a living wage, as well as herself, and it was equal amongst all the employees. And people were kind of asking like, well, how can you do that? And it's like, well, if you look at it, once all my expenses and everything is paid, what I have left over in profits, and then I go down, break it down into my wages, I can pay everybody a living wage, and I can live comfortably. They can live comfortably. Why are they paying struggling wages? Just like with the strike. So let's talk about the economy. So if we look at the economy, we already know that the wage gap and rental and mortgage prices are completely separate. Inflation, and the recent inflation has really, really showed the wage gap between those that make money and those that don't, and what happened in the economy. Now, we take that a step further. Let's just say we throw child support in there. So you making $1,000, they taking $500 from you because they want to take half your check for some odd reason, as if you can't survive. So there's a 50-50 right there. So you're already taking half my check and giving it away. Now I got to figure out how I'm gonna pay the mortgage with interest rates going, mortgage or rent with those prices going up. Then I got to figure out how I'm gonna pay for groceries because inflation took groceries up. I got to figure out how I'm supposed to pay an $800, $900 car note so I can get back and forth to work. And then if I stop paying child support, I end up getting a felony. So now I got a felony, and now I can't go get a job nowhere else. So you're putting a stranglehold on man to where they want to be able to provide, but the only way they'll be able to provide is if either you work a really great job and you got help like a spouse or something like that, or you you live in somebody's basement trying to go ahead and pay these bills, try to pay this debt for 18, this recurring debt for 18 years until you can get back on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least come to some kind of term. So look, and I know that was a lot, but just looking at all of those parameters, there's really no ironclad way for companies to sit here and pay low wages when you got CEOs and everybody flying on private jets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there ain't no reason for it, because it hurts. Like, going back to the court system, they're trying to take half your check. Well, who does that hurt? Who does that hurt the most? Hurts the kids the most. But the system doesn't really care. The system wants to do what benefits it, because guess what? When you pay half that check, guess what? They get to tax it. It's taxable income for them. And they get to keep their part, and they get to make money off of it. And they're continuing to make money. They're making money. That's what's important. They have to make money. Because that's what they're all about. And it's unfortunate, because if you're hurting a parent for child support, even if y'all both have 50-50, but if you're taking money out of that, because you're both going to see the kid the same amount of time, right? You want them to be as successful as both the houses can be, right? So that your kid is as successful between both houses as they can be. But if she's taking money out of your pocket, how successful is your house going to be? Because that's only going to hurt your kid.
Not successful at all.
Because that's the money that you could and probably would be using just to provide for basic needs. For food, gas, groceries, things like that. Just for the kids' basic needs. You ain't doing it to go on no big trip. You ain't trying to go to Disneyland or nothing like that.
No.
You know, it's just like, I'm just trying to get by out here. Like, I'm just trying to pay my car, trying to pay my rent, trying to pay groceries, for gas, for all the things, insurance. Maybe I'm trying to pay for a gym membership that they can go to and enjoy and get benefit out of that because it's good for them. Or maybe I'm trying to pay for this one program for them to have an outlet or an extracurricular kind of thing. And that's all I'm trying to do. But if you're taking money out of that other person's pocket, then that stuff can't happen. Like, it's like, oh, well, shoot, kid wants to do this, and, you know, they want to play football, and it's $500 for the season. Each person's got to pay half. And it's like, well, I can't afford half because you've taken that half.
You're taking that half. So,
guess what? Now my kid can't play football.
So I know for a lot of men that pay child support, their mindset is, well, not a lot of men, but for some men that pay child support, their mindset is if I'm paying child support, why do I need to do anything extra?
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to do anything extra. I don't need to provide any more money. I don't need to pay for activities because all that stuff is paid for because I pay child support. So I got to pay child support and I'm an active parent. So now I got to do extra. So then that doesn't incentivize a man to want to stay around because it's like, okay, well, I want to be a parent, but you're taking so much from me that I can't do anything as a parent, as you just stated. I can't do anything as a parent because they take all the money, but then you want to say, well, yeah, we need half for the soccer tournament or whatever. Okay, well, I don't have it. I just gave you $500 in child support. Well, I don't get to see all that money. That's not a problem of mine. I paid the child support to support the child. Mm-hmm. So you have to figure it out. At this point, I'm just pick up and drop off service at this point.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. So if you're paying that child support and you're paying that amount, it goes to support the child, which means it has to be regulated in some way, shape, or form. And if it's for an extracurricular, that probably isn't going to fall under what can be accessed on that card. So that's something that both people, I mean, it would be worth it. Like, I would still pick up the phone and make that call and be like, hey, you know, I approve of having $300 off the child support card to go toward paying for this specific thing under this specific title. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, she would essentially have to motion with the child support office, say, hey, part of this needs to go to football, and I need it to be made available to pay for this thing. Okay, cool. Let us call the provider. Oh, you didn't know about that? Okay, no, we're gonna kind of thing, which then forces the communication, and then okay, cool, we can do that. And then
I like that idea.
If it's tracked, and then they will only allow those funds to be released. It's like their own bank essentially. They see the pending charge. XYZ middle school athletics. Cool. Let me at the child support office. I'm going to call down to XYZ school. Hi, this is so-and-so from the child support office. I'm calling to confirm the payment for little Susie or little Johnny to play to play football this year. Are they on the team? Yes. Was this payment made with the 111 card ending in this number? Yes. Okay. Who was the payment made by? It was made by so-and-so. Okay. Perfect. Do you have consent from both parents? Okay, cool. Yes. Cool. I'm approving the charge right now. Bada bing, bada boom. There you go. Like, you have to regulate this stuff. You have to regulate it or it gets abused. And it has to be just a hard cold turkey snap. Nope. You have to come down to the DCYF office or DSHS office or whatever office, CPS office, April 1st, and you have to come pick up your card. If you don't come pick it up, you don't have access to your funds. Your funds will be preloaded onto this preloaded debit cards. The restrictions on this, or you can only spend it here, like an EBT.
Now, I like that idea. And I'll take it a step further. Like, they don't even need a call service to confirm it. It could just be just a text message to the other party saying, "Hey, do you agree to authorize this purchase for her to get her nails done?" Hell no. I'm not authorizing that purchase.
Exactly.
Do you authorize this purchase for cap and gown? Yep, I'm gonna authorize this purchase for cap and gown. This is where I want the money to go to.
Yeah,
I think
you can see where that transaction comes from. Like, it pops up as like a message. And do you authorize this payment? Hell no, I'm not going to authorize hair and nails. Do you authorize this payment? But when it says something like clothing purchase, it's like, no, I want the receipt. Like, send me the receipt kind of thing. Make sure it's kid clothes. Make sure it's a transaction. Like, it would take a big overhaul of even like POS system. Kind of like when you swipe your probably not even that big of an overhaul. Like, when you swipe your EBT card, it will only allow the certain items, or as far as I know for EBT, I don't have EBT, but did when I was a kid and stuff growing up. It only allows certain items to be paid for. So essentially, it takes those items off, charges it to that card, and then you swipe your other card for all the rest of your stuff. It would be the same for the child support card, to where it's like a kid's clothes are, they allow for the code. Basic food essentials, they allow for the code. Steak, lobster, no chance. Ground beef, absolutely. Or it's like when she tries to go use that child support card to go buy something extravagant on the time where she doesn't have the kid. She swipes it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to get me some steak. I'm going to get me something good to eat. Denied. Why? Well, A, you don't have a kid here. B, you're using this card. C, this is an authorized purchase. So, sorry.
Yeah, I honestly think that's a good idea. With a little bit more refinement, I think it'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be great with a little bit of refinement. I think it'd be great because the fact that some women are having more kids to get more child support, and they're constantly petitioning in the child support court for more money, and then taking that money while possibly living on Section 8. I'm not saying that all of them do. I'm not trying to put out every woman out there, but there's quite a few out there living on Section 8, consistently having kids to get more and more money so they don't have to do anything. They're buying themselves clothes. they're buying themselves, the latest hairstyles and the most expensive wigs and the most expensive whatever what they're buying with that money. And the kids are getting the bare minimum treatment, and they just run around the house while they out here looking like a supermodel.
Mm-hmm.
That's unfair.
100%.
And then they file taxes and get all the money back for them kids, complete deductions, and then probably barely even work throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make sense? How you get $10,000 and you ain't work to pay not one tax, but you about to get $10,000 because you got 3-4 kids?
Exactly.
That's ridiculous to me.
And then on top of that,
I've
you
heard
take
the
that a
stories.
step further. You take it a step further, and then she might be running around here looking like a supermodel. Kids are in clothes from Goodwill, and then the dad's out here wearing the freaking same 5 pairs of underwear that have holes in them that are barely hanging on by threads, and he can't afford to go get new underwear because he doesn't have the money. He barely has the money to make a peanut butter and jelly. He barely has the money to get his gas in the car to get to work, to keep up with this stupid cycle so he doesn't catch a felony, like you said. And it's just such a vicious, terrible cycle that when is it going to end? When is it going to be something that catches on? Because it has to be regulated. It can be very easily regulated. We regulate EBT, you already have the framework. You already have the framework to do this. Do the same for child support. It's not going to take that much to go and print some cards. And
it won't.
It'll take you 30 days, print all these cards, call up everybody. Hey, you can even stagger it. The 1st, 10th, the 1st, 5th, 10th, and the 15th to do it in waves so it doesn't overwhelm the office. A through E, call the last names. Hey, you need to come get your child support card on between April 1st and April 4th. If not, you're going to have to wait till May to come and get it.
Yeah.
Boom.
I agree. I think something need to be built in. Or they can use the EBT system and just create, because they already got EBT food, cash, and then just make EBT an extension onto that.
Yeah. You already got the framework.
If you're getting child support, you got that extension, and you can use it, but it is used with restrictions to support the child.
Yep.
You putting gas in your car to go to the club, that ain't supporting the child.
And you can have a gas allowance on that too. Like there's an EBT cash form that you can use for gas as far as I know. I know this because I worked in Circle K, or worked in gas stations and whatnot. So I know things that you can and can't get with EBT. And it's unfortunate because it kind of frustrated me, and maybe this is I don't know why it frustrated me, but it's if you're getting EBT and you're bringing your kids in, they're getting a freaking bug juice and you're getting 4 Red Bulls and you guys are getting candy and stuff. It's how is that stuff allowed on EBT? What does that help for this situation kind of thing? You getting Red Bulls and caffeine and soda and chips and candy and snacks. I get it. The gas station and the corporation wants that money because it's money to them. That's all they see at the end of the day. It's just sales. They don't care where it came from. But it's so gross to see just the abuse of these systems. How even the systems that are in place aren't regulated. EBT, you should be able to buy sandwiches, salads, soups, you can't buy hot food on EBT. Someone can't come into a gas station and buy a hot dog or a taquito or something with EBT because it's hot.
Okay.
It has to be cold. You only can buy cold food with EBT, which, okay, I would rather someone buy a hot dog, which is going to at least give them something, versus freaking 3 candy bars.
That's true. That's true.
Let them get a piece of bread and a hot dog or 2 and at least have something that's going to keep them a little more full versus...
But I know with the I know with the EBT, it pays for non-taxable items. So was the hot dog taxable?
I think hot food is taxed. Maybe that's why hot food's taxed. So I just know that you couldn't get hot food with it. Kind of thing, which always kind of didn't make sense, but again, it's still not regulated. It's like you can still get candy and chips and soda and Red Bull and all this stuff. It's like, what is that helping? Like that don't
Not helping nothing at all.
That don't help nobody. That's not helping this family. Like you're just allowing them to essentially, I don't want to say poison themselves, but poison themselves.
They're definitely poisoning themselves,
and they're hurting themselves. Like, what is that candy going to do? That $8 it is spent on candy, they could have gone right up the road to the actual grocery store or around the corner to the grocery store and gotten $8 worth and gotten yourself a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, and made peanut butter sandwiches for 3 days, kind of thing.
And that could be that honestly could be another restriction right there. Like, okay, well, let's restrict those type of junk foods. Like, let's restrict it to like healthy foods for the well, not necessarily healthy foods, but grocery store foods for the most part. But restrict like little candy and all that stuff like that. Like, look, it got to be healthy food. It can't just be non-healthy food that you're buying.
And the grocery stores already
do it. The EBT card, go up to the store and get some cookies or something.
Right? No, and that's what you can do with it. That's exactly what you can do with it. And again, you're so right. The more kids, the more you get. And so again, it incentivizes the wrong things. Yes, we have a population shortage on the horizon. All the wrong people are having more kids. None of the right people are having kids, which is creating a disparity in population growth and everything in our country. Our resources are quickly running out. It's unfortunate. It's hard. And again, the grocery stores already do it. You go to Walmart, you go to Target, we have Winko's. You go to any grocery store, Safeway, Albertsons, whatever the grocery store you have near you is, they already have the signs for EBT, what's EBT approved. They already have a little sticker on the shelf with it. It would not cost Walmart, Target, and these guys more. They already have the stickers. They have hundreds of them laying around. I worked at Walmart. I know this for a fact. You have a whole freaking bin of EBT stuff laying around. It would not take them much to go through each aisle and just mark EBT, EBT, EBT. If it doesn't have the EBT, you can't get it. The system already knows. They literally have to click buttons on the corporate side and say, like, this is EBT approved, this isn't, this isn't, this isn't. And so it restricts it. That's all they have to do. It's not that hard. It's not asking a lot. It's literally clicking buttons, which is what people in their corporate offices do anyway.
But they're going to lose money.
I think they would gain money because they can order those things more. They can sell those things more. They're going to sell those things at a higher clip. Less is essentially more in this aspect. I'm thinking from a retail aspect. Like if I know like EBT is now limited and I'm working in Walmart and I have creative insights over my end caps on the main action aisle or my displays. Guess what? I'm ordering EBT stuff to put on those end caps. I'm ordering a whole freaking end cap of peanut butter that's approved. I'm putting peanut butter and jelly on an end cap outside of the bread aisle. Because guess what? I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna merchandise. I'm gonna maximize on this because I know that's the only things they can spend their money on. And I want them coming here to know like they can get all their EBT approved stuff. Maybe they can get 1 or 2 laundry items. Okay, guess what? I'm ordering up on those laundry items to make sure I always have them in stock. Guess what? I'm ordering up on the body soaps that you can get on EBT or with child support. I'm ordering up on those. 100%. No problem. We're going to increase our contracts there. Essentially, it creates opportunity for these companies that are on EBT because there's less competition, and then they can handle all their corporate meetings and be like, well, we're going to increase the price 20 cents then. Cool. They're all making 20 cents more. Everyone's making 20 cents more. Essentially, it all pays for itself at the end of it. So I don't think they're going to lose money. I think they gain money because they have to sell the right products now. And it forces them to be more mindful of merchandising and stock levels of all these things. And it creates a commodity. And then if you don't like what's on your EBT, guess what? Now you have to work to get off of it. Now you have to work and you have to go do the things that you have to do to afford. If you don't like the store brand Great Value soap, well, guess what? You have to work to go get the Tide now. You have to work to go get the steak and the lobster and the stuff. You can get ground beef, ground chicken, ground turkey, maybe chicken breast, whatever is the EBT approved item. You want to get the more than that? Well, you have to earn it. You have to go and work for it. Like, it shouldn't just be all these hands out. If you want the higher, the nicer stuff, guess what? Now you're working. Now you're working to get off of it. And now we're creating a system that doesn't incentivize the poor behavior. It forces people to get going, to get moving in the right direction, to help get things back on, to help get the system, the economy back on the rails. Because essentially, if all these other companies want to compete with the EBT stuff that so many people are on, they would essentially have to kind of start lowering their prices, essentially, to try to compete with the average person. Because the average person, even though it's EBT approved, they can still buy it if they're not on it.
Right.
They'd be like, "Oh, sure, I'm just gonna get that EBT on it because I might feel a little bit bad, but that's the cheaper one." And they're like, "Well, everyone's buying that competition that's on the EBT, so either we need to get on that with them, or we need to drop our price for the other consumers, the other 60% of people, whatever it is. If you're thinking 41% on the EBT and in this program, 60% is not. We need to lower it and make it attainable for the rest of the 60%, so we can stay competitive with the 40%. And it starts to level out. Now, that's just thinking like business mindset, working in retail kind of thing. So that's my thoughts on it.
Well, I hear what you're saying. And if we look at it from, okay, let's look at it from a capitalistic standpoint. So if we're saying that we're going to restrict certain foods to be bought, so now we saying that, okay, so say we're going to say, well, you could buy Cheerios, but you can't buy Frosted Flakes. Okay, so now Frosted Flakes is going to lose out on money because Cheerios is approved. So now it's saying, well, Kellogg, y'all got to come out with, something to compete with Cheerios. And not saying that they don't have anything out there to compete with Cheerios, but a lot of people don't want to eat the shredded wheat. How many people out there buying shredded wheat cereal? Like I even bought shredded wheat cereal.
I think it's just boomers.
So, when we look at it, it all depends on what the restriction is. Like if we're saying, okay, all cereal can be bought. No problem. All right, cool. Whether it's Frosted Flakes or Lucky Charms, whatever, all that stuff can be bought. But if you exclude the sugar, the high sugar and the high sugar stuff, then it's like, all right, not only the healthy cereal is getting through, but not us. We can't make any money because now we're not included, and now we gotta try to push our products to be included when we know our high value products is Kellogg's because they like how they taste, they like it's sugary and all that stuff like that. So now they're gonna on the losing end of the spectrum. So now it's a fight to, okay, well, how do we get in and what do we push so we can go ahead and get on this list so we can be approved to be purchased. So then that's where that capitalism part comes in, and that's what Walmart will have to kind of considering. Okay, we're losing money, but it's going to be other organizations or other grocery stores are going to say, well, you can buy it over here. It's not restricted. Well, you can buy it over here because maybe they don't restrict it in their system. Okay, in their POS system. Maybe they don't restrict it in their POS system. So they say, well, you can go ahead and do it.
It would have to be a government thing at that point. It would have to be the government saying, all grocery stores, all grocers, these are the approved items, which is then would force Kellogg, Frosted Flakes, force them to A, drop their prices to be competitive for the other 60% of the consumer, to be affordable, make them rework their contracts with Walmart and Target and the big players in the grocery business to make sure that everyone's still making money, and or to help create a system that helps push healthier people. Like, there's nothing wrong with creating a country that promotes health. Like, we are so afraid as a country to promote health, to promote just natural organic health. You go and look at Europe, what do they eat all day? They eat bread, and they're still in good shape. They're still in great shape because their bread doesn't have all the shit that our bread has in it. Their bread literally has flour, milk, eggs, butter, honey. It doesn't have sugar, triglycerides, preservatives, all this stuff. No, it's just bread. It's just wheat, flour, eggs, butter, milk, whatever the heck goes in bread. I don't know how to make bread off the top of my head, but
I'm gonna give me a bread maker later this year. I'll tell you.
Oh, for sure. Let me get a bread maker. I want one so bad. Because I want to make my own bread because I know it would taste better.
I'm telling you, I am in the business of making a lot of my own stuff just to save money.
Oh,
like, I know bread not really that expensive, but if it's only gonna cost me 97 cents to make a 2-pound loaf of bread, hey, look, we in business.
No, I do the same thing. Like, I get the pancake mix, right? I get the cheap store brand pancake mix. My daughters love like little mini pancakes, the ones that come in the bag in the freezer. I was like, those are like $5 a bag for like 60. Guess what? I can make 60 for less than $1. I can put cinnamon. I can put cinnamon. I can make those pumpkin spice. I can season those things up. I can put sprinkles. I can put colors. And guess what? I can make way more for way less that tastes way better, kind of thing.
Exactly. And we pay so much money for convenience. We pay so much money for convenience.
So much.
And I think that's the downside of it all, is that convenience part. And we need to kind of get away from convenience, because convenience costs us more money than paying for just like you said, just paying for the cheaper brand to do it ourselves, or the unprocessed brand to do it ourselves.
So we're afraid of that. We're afraid of losing that convenience, because that's what's been pushed. Convenient, quick, easy, all those things. It's easier to eat out.
Yep.
Just go and eat out. It's fine. It's quicker. It's faster. It saves you time. You're a hardworking parent. You deserve it. And guess what? My bank account doesn't deserve it. My health doesn't deserve it.
Nope.
Like, I deserve to be able to work a job that I can buy the food and have time to come home and make the food that I wanted to.
Exactly.
Like, I don't buy groceries just for fun. I don't buy groceries to let them go to waste. I buy the groceries to eat them, to make delicious meals, because I like that. It tastes better. But again, going back to all of it, essentially, if you restrict it, it forces all the other players to wake up, and it forces us to rework and re-push the agendas that matter. Right?
Yes.
Because if they're forced now, they can't market Frosted Flakes with Tony the Tiger, and now they have to push this other brand. Well, guess what? What you have to do, because you need to now capture the 41% that's in poverty. Or guess what? You need to realign your values. You need to realign. It forces everyone essentially to realign and wake up and be like, "Oh crap, with this, like, we can't do nothing." Will it ever happen? Probably not, because everyone will lose too much money, essentially. But I think everyone would gain way more out of it in the end than they would lose. I think it's just too scary for these companies to do, because they don't want to risk it. They don't want to risk losing the money. They don't want to risk their paycheck. They don't want to risk anything happening to them. And it's unfortunate, because we're just two dudes behind microphones talking about it and making it sound like attainable and that easy.
Right.
Because guess what? It is that easy. It's simple. But they just think they're too smart. They're smarter than the American people. They're smarter than two dudes sitting behind microphones talking about it, kind of thing. if we're thinking about it and we're talking about it, guess what? The dude down the street's thinking about it and talking about it with his friend. We're all thinking and talking about it. We just have platforms to get it out there and to talk about it a little bit louder than other people. And I think it's, yeah.
Enron thought they were smart too. They thought they were smart too. And they end up going out of business. They inflated they stuff up too high. And now look at them in the wind. Cause they were smart too.
Yeah. All these companies that are shutting down, all these brands, everyone that's losing money, everyone that's losing out. Thought they were so great.
Yeah. I mean, even if we go a little step further and we talk about current times and you look at the electric car industry, is getting harder to break into. It's easy to break into the electric industry. The problem is the R&D, the research and development, that takes a lot of time and money to have to bring it to market. Your production facility, because electric cars aren't built the same way other cars are built.
Well,
they're not built the same way. So, and that's why Tesla had such a hard time, because it was their first wrapping up production. It was like their first time ever doing it. So they were running into a lot of issues, the same issues that other cars, the other car companies were running into when they was building cars over 50 years ago. When you had the whole industrial revolution and they building these cars, they're trial and error. Cars didn't have power steering. Cars barely had brakes. Then they start building the engines bigger and faster. So then they had to figure the whole system out again. And then adding more lubricants. Cars are overheating, so you add coolant. And then you start adding more and more parts. So you start to learn the game. So now you got a company coming in that is trying to build an electric car, something that's more efficient. And yeah, it's still behind on the battery composition or whatever. But for new companies trying to come in now, you talking about maybe 5 to 10 years of research and development before you could possibly even bring anything to market.
Yeah,
it's a new emerging segment, but it's still a tough segment to work in, because Tesla has a chokehold on the electric industry.
They do, because they got it figured out. They have it right. They have a great CEO, Elon Musk. Say all you want about him, he's a mad genius, 100% of the thing. I've listened to him on podcasts. I listened to him on Joe Rogan, the episode he did with him a couple months back, and he in depth talked about scaling the Cybertruck and what it takes and what it looks like, the difficulties, the challenges, everything, the ups and downs. Why do you think companies are pushing back against the government when they're trying to say, "Oh, we're going to be all electric by 2035 or kind of thing," and these companies are saying that's impossible? There is no chance. Well, what happens to the electric cars when they're just dead and they stop working and the batteries die? Where do they go?
Yeah,
you've seen those videos of foreign countries where they have just their little white cars, those little 2-person things, and they just have acres upon miles of these car boneyards, because all those batteries are dead and these cars stop working and they don't have batteries to replace them. And so they just pump out new ones, because it's cheaper for them to pump out new ones than to put new batteries and to replace these ones. And they just have boneyards pretty much of these same cars for as far as the eye can see. And guess what? All that battery acid just leaks right into the ground in these areas. And they just become biohazard areas. Say what you want about carbon emissions and gas and all these things, but electric cars ain't no better. Battery acid, what happens when they're dead and you don't have batteries to replace them? What happens when your electric car dies and your electricity goes out? What happens when that happens?
So I do. Now, it's two big issues. The first issue that you stated was definitely about what happened when a car dies. Okay, so that's a good question. The second issue is that we don't have the infrastructure for all the electrical cars.
Mhm.
Okay, now the electrical grid, because let's just think about it. We had during the summertime in some states, especially Southwest, okay, Arizona, Nevada, when it gets extremely hot and everybody is running their AC, you're
Blackout.
liable to trip the grid.
Yeah, rolling blackouts and everything are a thing.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is Elon talked about that in depth. And he said all it would take, he put it so simply, so plainly. He said we could power our country on itself with a 100-mile by 100-mile solar field out in the middle of Arizona in the desert. You could power the entire country sustainably on its own. The infrastructure, everything, on a 100-mile by 100-mile plot of land covered in solar panels. That's it. That simple for our entire country on a sustainable, renewable source. The energy from the sun's free. That don't cost nobody nothing.
Bless it.
100 by 100-mile piece of land, that's not that big. That's not that big. You get that out in the middle of Arizona in the desert. You get that out in the middle of North Dakota, Montana, wherever. You get it out in one of these sunnier areas down in the Southwest. There's land. There's plenty of 100 by 100 pieces of land down in the South, down in Texas, up in Arizona, New Mexico, any of these places. That's all it takes. That is literally all it takes on a 100 by 100 piece of land covered in solar panels, literally end to end, butt to butt, solar panels, 6 feet up in the air, 10 feet up in the air, so that you can work underneath them, filter all of it. You can power the entire United States. The entire United States. And when Elon says that, I listen. Because that's someone that I trust that knows what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Look, if I can get some solar panels myself where I live, I definitely have some.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get that much sun up here.
It's not even just the sun. It's not even solar. It's like UV rays. It's all the different kind of things that the sun produces that come through the clouds and everything. It's not just sun. There's different kind, because all the things.
And I believe it, but again, what it goes back to capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're saying that the electric companies are no longer needed to regulate. Okay. Now you're saying that you don't need gas. Now you may still need the gas companies, but it's certain infrastructure that you don't need to regulate that anymore. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now you're saying, oh well, if they're gonna be able to generate all this electricity for free, then what's going to happen is people going to get the watch will say, well, okay, why am I paying for a service when you're getting it for free? You don't have to generate it or do anything. It's being distributed to your facility, and then you're distributing it out towards everybody else in the city. So I'm paying you for that distribution and that service when I don't have to. And that's why I admire people that actually have the funds to get the solar panels from. It's not necessarily from Tesla. I can't think of their solar panel program, but there's solar panels or just any solar panels that puts energy back into the grid, because it saves you so much more money because it's literally a free service that can power your house, and you don't have to rely on the energy company to spike prices on you because everybody using electricity at a particular time.
Exactly. And that's when it comes to the simple answer for that for me is work together. Work in collaboration. Collaborate on this. Because there's still going to be plenty of money to make off of solar power. You still have to sell the solar panels. You still have to sell the grid. You have to sell the grid space. Like, there's plenty of money. You still have to get these workers from GE to now learn solar and to do that aspect of it. you could do multiple solar fields. Maybe it's not one single plot of land. Maybe it's a 50 by 50 here, another 50 by 50 here, another 50 by 50 here, another, maybe it's a 25 by 25 here. Like GE has a monopoly on it. Our society's not supposed to have monopolies, but there's monopolies on certain things, unfortunately.
Definitely.
General Electric, they have the monopoly on it. And yes, they would lose some money, but how much money could they really make? Like, I feel like it's an untapped level. Like, oh, well, now we need to sell solar, we can sell all this stuff, and we get it into here, and now we can, focus on innovation and, increasing this better and making this better for everybody. It's like they don't want to make anything better. They don't want to make anything better.
No.
Big solar fields,
No.
plots of land, 25 by 25 miles, 50 by 50 miles, these square plots of land, cover them in solar panels, makes the world better, makes the country better, makes people happier, makes everything easier.
Is one thing you said there is made the country better. It makes the country more independent.
Exactly, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier, about the welfare system, child support, everything like that. Our country doesn't want to make us more independent. They want us to keep us reliant. They hate when someone gets solar panel on their house. They hate when that happens. Companies hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And they make it as complicated as possible. Happened to my brother when they moved into their new house and they had solar panels. They were trying to figure it all out. The meter wasn't reading right. And they weren't getting the proper credit, or they didn't get the proper reads off their meter with the solar and everything. And it created more of an issue for them having it. And it took about 3 months for them to finally get it figured out to where they were getting credited properly for the solar versus what they were using and getting from the grid.
Mm.
Sorry.
And Matt, no, you would. I had a friend that ran into that too, where he had solar panels and he had batteries in his basement. And they came out, did an inspection, told him, hey, it was hooked up wrong. You need to go ahead and redo this, and they had to come out and inspect it again. And he went through several inspections before it was actually approved that it was good to go.
Yeah, they complicate it because they don't want you to do it. They don't want you to be more independent. They don't want people to be more independent than they have to be. And I just listened to this really good podcast the other day. It was Patrick Bet-David, PBD. I listened to his show. I'm a fan of his. He had Chris Como, Candace Owens, the PBD home team, and they were talking in depth about these issues. And really, what it all always came back to was the government doesn't want to make us more independent. They don't want to allow us to have independence in any way, shape, or form. They don't want that. That's not allowed. They can't afford that. They can't afford they can't afford, well, they can absolutely afford $1 trillion packages, $100 billion packages, $60 billion packages, and foreign aid to all these places. Like, yeah, that sucks. I'm really sorry that that's going on over there. These wars and everything are going on, but imagine all the money we've sent to Ukraine, and imagine just that situation impossible. I know I'm going to get hate for bringing up Ukraine and saying this, but that's okay. I'm cool with it. Imagine all that money you take from Ukraine, you reverse all that money, and all comes back into the U.S. You distribute that. Now, hear me out. This is a big dream right here. Schools.
Okay.
You distribute, what is it? I don't even know the number. Probably $500 billion at this point. Maybe even $1 trillion. You distribute $1 trillion to schools across America, into teachers' pockets, into teacher salaries, into classrooms, into books, into technology, into innovation. That's maybe $100 billion. You still got $900 billion to play with. You take $300 billion of that, a third of it, and you go in, remedy the houseless population, the homeless across America. You build apartments, low income. You help companies provide jobs. You say, hey, we're offering $5 million for every company that goes out to their neighborhood. We'll give you a credit here. Here's your credit, $5 million to go and build housing or provide job, provide training, provide something to this population. Boom, you take another 100 billion of it. Now I'm at about 500, I'm half of it. And you go and sink that into mental health services, social services, things like that. Boom, sink it in there. Another issue, remedied. Or not remedied, but a solution starting. We'll give you credits. We'll give you tax credits on this. You take that money, you go and pour it into, I already said schools, mental health. You pour it into addiction. You pour it into addiction facilities. So when you go and clean up the houseless population, you can now either send them to a mental health facility or a substance abuse facility that's being credited and paid for with this foreign aid money that's going to fight a proxy war. And you put it back in our country, you clean up the streets, you get these people the appropriate help they need, whether that's mental health, substance abuse help, or maybe they just need some job training and somewhere to live so that their basic needs are provided for. You provide their basic needs enough to get them back up and going. Once they're going, okay, cool. Here's your house, you have to pay this more. Here's your apartment in this complex that we built, but you have to pay this much. If you don't meet this much, then you have to go back into treatment and training, kind of thing. You pour $1 trillion into schools, education, mental health, substance abuse, building homes and fixing the inflation. You take 300 million of that and you pour it back into our national debt, into interest rates, into first-time home buyer programs. You pour it back into the right programs. Man, our society absolutely booms rather than tank the last 3 years because of this. Our society is number 0 in the world instead of falling down education, falling down mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment. Instead of falling, we're growing. We're getting back up to top 5 in every single category across the board. We are the country. We are the beacon of hope where people want to be us, they try to be us, and they fear the crap out of us because we're producing high-level people. We're producing healthy people. We're producing smart people. We're producing well-educated people. We're producing a great military that's smart, that's sharp, that's innovative. No one wants to mess with us. No one even thinks to mess with us. No one even called to call our number because they're like, we don't want to get them involved because we know if we get them involved, we are screwed. That's where we should be over these last 3 years versus where we are now with 41% poverty and all these other issues, record inflation, homes that are really worth $100,000 being sold for $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, interest rates at nearly 10% on the dollar to get into a home. Like it's to get a new car or whatever. It's crazy because where we should be or could be, we're not because of the poor choices of our government.
Dang. You're right. And that was a lot.
I know, and I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude.
I see you going with it. I see you going with it.
Like if I can see that, and I'm just a dude behind a microphone with a fun logo on this podcast, man, put me in one of those seats and see what I can do. Just kidding. I don't want to be in politics. I don't want to.
Well, I can tell you, Congress definitely need a lot more young people in the group because at this point, I think they got skeletons out there, and they ain't functional enough.
And the thing is, like, the young people don't want to do it, or the wrong young people are doing it, but they start local. They start at your school boards. They start at your city council, and they just take that as a stepping stone to see, okay, now I'm here. What can I get? Cool, I got the political game. Time for my next step. Time for my next move. I lobby.
Right.
Cool, I get my next move. I get my next ascension. By the time they're older, now they're in those higher positions of power. But while they were younger, they weren't worried about their actual position because they were worried about the next 3 ascension. They do it for the wrong reason. Everyone does it for the wrong reason. It's
You're absolutely right.
because it affects. They don't realize the effect they're having because they're young, they're naive, they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna make money. I have my liberal arts degree. I'm gonna go be in politics, and I know how much money I can make being a politician, and all these things." And it sets us back more than it sets us forward.
I agree. It does. And I think we need a lot more representation in Congress. And I honestly think we need to add another party to Congress that's more prominent outside of just Democrats and Republicans.
Oh yeah, the two-party system doesn't work. We're seeing that.
I mean, and there's other parties out there, but they don't get a seat at the table to actually be considered. They're on the ballot, but they're not in the forefront of the conversation. And we need more. We need more parties at the forefront of the conversation.
We need to I personally think we could eliminate the two-party system altogether. Just vote for the best person. That's why I can't stand right now at the time of this recording. We're in primary ballot season. For Washington State, you have to, on the front of your ballot, on the envelope, circle in the party you're voting for, and you have to vote for a candidate from that party. What if I want to align myself with this party, but I want to vote for that candidate? That's not fair to me. That's limiting to me as a voter.
No. It is.
I don't think a lot of people even know that's what you're supposed to do. I only know that because I read the instructions and I actually open my ballot. And I already knew that because I listen to the radio. How many people get in their cars and actually listen to the radio station? Nobody.
Yeah, I don't listen to the radio station. I ain't gonna lie to you. There's not a time where I'm gonna listen to the radio. No, I'm not listening to the radio.
No, exactly. Well, the only reason I listen to it is because in the morning, my daughter, we like to listen, and it's how we know we're on time, is we listen to the country station, and every morning they have the tasty tweets, and it's this little catchy jingle, and we know we're on time when we hear the tasty tweets when we're on this certain road, in the mornings going to school. And like, she lives for the tasty tweets. She will have a meltdown if we don't get to listen to the tasty tweets in the morning. To kind of bring that back, but and then I hear things, so I just leave it on. I'm like, well, I'm going to work. I'm not going to go through all switching everything and turn something on for 10 minutes just to get to work kind of thing, and it's not worth it. So then I end up hearing these things and getting us a little information. Information is good. It's good to have information. Good to know these things.
Yeah.
The average person, though, is afraid of information. They're afraid to educate themselves. They're afraid to have, like, this conversation that we're having, rarely going to happen outside of this platform with people. At least to my knowledge. In the right circles, it happens.
Right.
But going this deep into government, and we talked politics, but we didn't really talk politics. We just talked big picture stuff. Even this conversation is going to be taboo. It's going to trigger people. Because it's like, oh, well, what are you trying to say? You're trying to say that people on welfare are lazy? No, I never said that. Don't twist my words. I'm just trying to say, we're trying to highlight and say the systems that are at play are broken. They are devastated. The systems that we have to live in are corrupt. They're broken, and they don't work. They absolutely do not work. The EBT, the child support, the welfare system, they're broken. They were made for a purpose. That purpose has been well served to set generations back. And those generations are set back. We're now living through the consequences of those things being initiated, welfare being started. We're now seeing the long-term impacts, the effects of it being played out in real time in our country right now.
Yeah.
And we're going to see it for many more generations. We probably still have at least 2 to 3 generations unless something drastic happens, which is what we're talking about. We're talking about drastic change, radical change to some people, a big disruption to the system, and people hear that and they get scared.
And one thing I want to say about people being triggered is people's perception is their reflection.
Absolutely.
of themselves. Because if you're taking the information and saying that, oh, so what are you saying about this and what are you saying about that? In some cases, you're probably reflecting on your own self. And that's why you're being triggered, is because you're hearing the information and believing that the information is talking about you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a general statement. So if you take a general statement personally, maybe you definitely need to look in the mirror and determine, what's going on and how can you get out your own situation, whether it's from a political value, whether it's, from the child support value, whether it's from the welfare value. We already understand that, or they already understand that the system is broken and it needs a reform.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are partaking in that system and you are profiting off of that system and you are triggered by what somebody else says about that system, then yes, you're definitely taking a reflection. Your perceptions, they can definitely take a reflection on you, because what you're seeing something that's, oh, well, that's personal to me. Is it really personal to you? Because you may feel or believe a certain thing, or you may be doing something in action, but because we're stating what the action is, you think your action is in relation to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
But you're triggered because you don't want anything to change. So maybe you are in that position and you need to sit down and reevaluate the next 5 years of your life and come up out of that situation and be what I would say a productive citizen and a contributor to society.
Absolutely.
If you don't want to be a contribution to society and you want to consistently keep taking and taking and taking, then that's definitely an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more that you take, because when you take from the government, you take from society. So you're taking from me. That means that my tax dollars go to the government. You taking from the government, so you taking my tax dollars and doing exactly what with them? Besides living for free.
Mm-hmm.
Paying the minimum balance. I'm working hard to pay the full balance for my mortgage, groceries, and everything. And you're taking a shortcut and getting the minimum balance paid on everything without contributing a dime to the success of society.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then you're limiting other people. You're limiting those who actually are in that spot, 100%. That 100% need it. That 90% need it. That 85% need it. The people who actually have the dire need for these assistance programs can't get it. They can't get access to it. They can't get access to the mental health services or the subsidy services, because those things are paid for. Some of those things are paid for through state insurance, through government insurance that not everyone can be on. And so it takes away from the needs of those who actually need it, gives it to those who don't need it as much, and then it just continues that cycle. And I'm not trying to call anyone out. If you feel triggered or something, then you need to, like you were saying, check your feelings. That's what it's comes down to for me. Check yourself. We're to the point where I've gotten in trouble for that in the past at work, to where I said something or did something that offended someone else or upset someone else, and I'm like, well, I literally said to my boss at that point, well, I can't control how they feel, how they react. That's not my fault. And I got I got blacklisted from that moment forward. It's like, well, I can't. That's not my problem how they feel. That's on them. They're like, well, yeah, but you need to. I'm like, I don't gotta do shit. I said my piece. I said what I said, and I mean what I said. I'm not gonna go back and unsay it. I have nothing to apologize for. I said it straight up. I said it bluntly. I said it boldly, and I said it honestly. If they don't like it, that's too damn bad. That's on them to react. And so again, if, like you were saying, if you think we're talking about you, well, ask yourself why you feel that way, and maybe it is time for that self-evaluation. Maybe it is time to wake up. Everyone, a lot of people in this country, a lot of people in our country, maybe some people who are going to listen to this and see clips of it, need to wake up, because things are bad. If you think things are good right now in our country, you're blind. You're uninformed.
Right.
You're listening to the wrong stuff. You're getting the wrong message. You're brainwashed by the wrong propaganda. And people hearing that are going to call me, oh, well, you're just a Republican and you're just a right winger and you've been red pilled. And no, I see life for what it is. I see how shitty our country is, and I know where these things stem from. A lot of the problems we're seeing, it's 2024 and we still have racism in our country. Slavery was abolished how long ago? Integration happened how long ago? Dr. King died how long ago? And we still have these issues. We
That's
still
true.
have poverty at a record rate. We're the most impoverished, we're the richest country in the world, yet the most impoverished country in the world. How does those two things align? If you're the richest and you're also the most impoverished.
But that's still due to it being a capitalistic
Greed.
It's due to it being a capitalistic country and democracy.
Absolutely.
So it's a capitalistic democracy.
Absolutely.
So everybody has a voice. Supposedly everybody has a voice. I'm not 100% and believe that everybody has a voice, but everybody has a voice, and everybody can succeed in the right conditions. And when I say the right conditions is that you have to be of a particular, mindset, of a particular behavior, of a particular group, a particular culture, in order to be able to have the access that you would need in order to break the glass ceiling.
Exactly.
And it doesn't fare well for everyone trying to be successful, because everybody in the country can't be millionaires. Everybody in the country can't make $200,000, $500,000. There has to be levels to the country, unfortunately. And other countries, they're the same way. They still have their levels, but you still have the majority that fare well than anything else.
Absolutely.
You still have. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was agreeing because look at Britain. United Kingdom, 7-8% poverty rate. So yes, of course they still have it. Yeah. Yes, they still have these things, but 7-8% of all their population. That's it. Their entire population. First world country. India. Same thing. I know no one likes talking about China, but China, they're an economic leader. They're number one in a lot of categories because they have a whole social credit system. We don't have to jump into that, but they also, their algorithm for their TikTok and stuff, they promote on their algorithms. They force health, fitness, gut health, educational materials. Of course, they probably force some propaganda and stuff too, but they produce health on their For You pages on their TikToks. They don't, and they filter it.
I don't even want to get into the TikTok conversation.
Oh yeah.
I have my thoughts on that whole programming and what China is showing, their country versus what's being shown in our country, and it is a Chinese program, and I know a lot of people don't want it to be banned because they're making money off of it, but I'm not even I'm not going. See, I can talk about this stuff all day long. I'm not even going to get into it. And the reason why I won't get into it is because when it may look frowned upon, and it is definitely a conspiracy theory. In my take, I would say a conspiracy theory because it's what I believe and what I think. It's not 100% proven.
100%.
So I'm not even going to jump into the TikTok conversation because I know a lot of people. I received a text message saying, talk to your local congressman so they can not full ban on TikTok. And I'm like, I understand a lot of people are making money off of TikTok, but you got to understand that for every good there's an evil. It's good for you, but think about the evil that it's producing. You feel like, well, I'm doing comedy, I'm doing this, and it's providing me to be able to pay for my family. Just like any criminal can stop being a criminal and take those same skills and apply it elsewhere in entrepreneurship. It's the same concepts. It's the same principles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you may not be able to get the loan or the finances or the money to do it, but it's not saying that you don't have the skill. If you can run your own racketeering, you can run a company.
Absolutely.
You know, you may not be able to do it with violence and you had to do it by legal means, but the mindset is there. You'll be able to convert that over and run a successful established business by using those same practices if you take out the violence and the intimidation and the guns and all that other stuff that's out there.
Absolutely. And I don't think it would be the worst thing if it was banned. I think a lot of people would be a lot happier. Yes, it would suck, but there's Etsy, there's YouTube. Open up a different shop, open up an Etsy store, get on Instagram, get on YouTube, get on Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, we still have the infrastructure and the programs to still help you push and promote these things.
Right.
If people really like what you do and they care, they're gonna support you. They're gonna support the person. That's what I've always believed. And the right people support the right people. The right people support the right messages. And so it really comes down to just supporting the right people, supporting the right things, support the things you believe in, support what aligns for you. And honestly, to kind of go back a little bit to the whole two-party system, do your research, vote for the right people, vote for the right candidate, vote for the people who are going to have the most impact to yourself, your community, and your people, your kids, your family, your community. Pay attention, get informed, stay informed. Listen to the right podcast. If you want podcasts to listen to, send me a DM. I'll recommend you 10 of them that are good for helping you stay informed on what's going on a geopolitical landscape, where they have great conversations, open conversations. Both sides are explored. The appropriate amount of shit is talked. All the things. Get informed, stay informed, because it's important to be informed. If you don't know what's going on, you can't be part of the solution, because then you just stay part of the problem. Get informed so you can be part of the solution.
That's true.
Don't be a part of the problem, especially if you got kids. We're trying to raise kids who we want them to be healthy, productive members of society. If you're not a healthy, productive member of society, good luck trying to raise a little human that's going to be a productive member of society as well.
Facts.
Your kids are what you are. The apple does not fall far from the tree. So just remember that. Please, just remember that. In everything that you do. So I think that's my closing thought there.
Okay. I like it.
But yeah, no, this has been dope, dude. I did not think we were gonna push 2 hours when we hit record, so but sometimes it just flows, man. There's a lot to talk about out there right now.
I mean, it was great. It was a great conversation. I appreciate being on, man. Like I didn't expect it to go over that broad of a spectrum. But you know, once it's going, it's going.
Yeah, man. And we covered what? We covered child support, welfare, government structure. We talked, brother. We talked.
Yeah. We talked about we talked about a few things.
Man, the takeaways from this one, the bullet points are gonna be a freaking just the whole description of the episode, the takeaways. This is a good one, so make sure hopefully they buckled up for this one when they started listening, and it just kind of goes, you know. That's the best thing about our podcast and what we both do is we just talk, we have the conversations, and we talk about the stuff that needs to be talked about. Someone's got to talk about it. Someone has to talk about it.
Yeah.
Why not us? Why not us? But
I agree. The what you would call local journalists, or you know, us podcasters. And that's why, and that's kind of why, you know, I be on Threads just promoting people and, you know, let them know like, hey, you have support. You know, there is a group of us out here that want to support you, that want to see you succeed, regardless of whether you're starting or you've been in it for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I want to send that encouragement and, if and have those conversations, because we are the people with the voice. We supposed to have a voice, because the people that we put in place to speak for us don't speak for us. They speak for them. They speak for their group. They speak for their pockets. That's who they speak for. They don't talk for us.
Nope.
They have far removed themselves from where we are to be able to talk to us. Just because you come back to the neighborhood and have conversations don't mean that you talk for us. Because if you heard us, then we will see substantial changes. So who's going to speak for us but those that are among us that can speak for us?
And I think it's so interesting. I'm out here in Washington. You're out there on the so I'm in the Pacific time zone. You're in the Eastern time zones. And we're talking the same thing here on different sides of the country.
Yep.
That just tells you that if it's reaching coast to coast, these issues are everywhere. If you're going to call your representative, make that a damn good call. Don't call about TikTok. Call about your school board. Call about your kids' education. Call about the issues that matter to you and to your kid. If you're going to call, who gives a shit about TikTok? It's just a stupid app. How many apps and programs have we seen died over the years? Hundreds, thousands. Who cares? It's just another one of those. We're going to forget it in a couple years. What was it? The one before TikTok. That you can make videos and stuff on. See, I don't even remember the name of it.
Was that Snapchat?
Not Snapchat. It was like another one, but it was like 10-second videos. Vine? Vine, exactly. Vine died. We were fine.
Yeah. Yeah, Vine did die.
Vine died. We were fine.
I think it came and went.
Exactly.
It came and went quick too.
MySpace died. AOL died before that.
Yep.
Like, programs died. Things leave. Things come and they go. Nothing's forever. At least when it comes your life, your kids, your family, the things that are in front of you, those are your forever things that matter. Find your forever things that matter. The relationships, the people. Find your things that matter. TikTok doesn't matter long term. Yes, it's a great stream of side hustle, side income. That's great. That's been great for you. It's been great for your career. Take it to that next level. Go and get on Instagram. Go challenge yourself on YouTube. Go grow your audience somewhere else. Go get your face out there some other way, shape, or form. You can do it. I know you can.
Let's be honest. TikTok is like OnlyFans. OnlyFans is like being a stripper.
What?
You only gonna get so far with it. You're not looking at 60 years in this industry.
No.
You make all the money that you can make, and then that's just like it's like being an actor. You could be an actor for as long as you can, but if you just gonna be an actor, you're not financially not gonna get very far. Okay. If just like athletes, you could be an athlete, you could play basketball, right? You can play football. If you don't last 10 years, how relevant were you? You
weren't. You absolutely weren't.
If you don't have an endorsement, if you don't have a gym shoe,
you ain't nothing.
If you ain't nothing.
You're nothing.
You can come in, and if you in there as a role player and you ain't the best role player that you can be, to where you can get at least an endorsement or something that can bring extra cash in to help you, you're irrelevant. So if TikTok is your main source and you're not going to comedy clubs, you're not trying to appear in low budget movies to expand your talent and palette.
Exactly. Why do you think so many athletes do the same thing? Look at The Rock. Is The Rock still in movies? No, he runs the XFL and he does the spots on WWE here and there. He has an energy drink company. He has a gym brand. He has a tequila. He has all these things that he's at. John Cena, same thing. He's in all these places. He's on the WWE no more doing that to his body because he can't. He missed his time's over. Look at Charles Barkley. He's on TV now as an analyst. Mac McClung, if he hasn't won 2 dunk contests, he's making the most of it while he can. And he's trying to get all that money he can right now.
Why your exposure is high,
capitalize.
You happen to monopolize on this.
Capitalize, you got to. But then again, kids who are taught, who are, end up becoming successful streamers or something for a short time. That's all they know, because that's all they're really told they need to know and learn. And so then they don't know what to do with it after that. They don't know how to take that talent and move it to another place. Like, I think Nate Jackson, you've probably seen Nate Jackson on TikTok, the comedian. He's hilarious. I've seen him in person. He's done it right, though. He's gone from clubs. He's gone from TikTok to clubs to now he's selling out arenas. He's doing arena tours now. He took it. He capitalized. He's like, okay, I got my moment. Now I can expand. Now I can do arenas. Now people are gonna know me. So if this ever dies, I'm good. Like, I'm sustainable. Like, beauty doesn't last forever. The OnlyFans model,
Right.
like, yeah, you're hot and young right now, but what happens in 10 years when you start to wrinkle or get a little bit flabby, or you realize like your life is just porn and you have no value really to offer society, and what do?
And then even with that, even if you're in the industry for 5 years, guess what? Somebody younger, better,
Hotter.
is coming in right behind you.
Exactly.
Hotter, coming in right behind you. So what is your trajectory that you see? Like, get in, get what you're willing to take, and diversify, or put your talents elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be on OnlyFans and all the stuff like that, go into modeling, or create your own subscription service on a outside platform so that you get all the money yourself, and then develop a clothing line.
Exactly.
Or develop a product line.
Reinvest that money. Get the money. Stack it. Get them bags. Get them bags. Get them bags. Athletes, models, influencers, everyone. Get your bags. Keep your bags. Invest your bags. Learn how to invest your bags. You have enough money right now to go and talk to someone who knows how to do it, and to invest in the right places, to put your money out there so it comes back to you tenfold.
Now, I want to use this person as an example, but and I hate to say this name, but Kim Kardashian.
I already know.
She's taken her whole family up off of one sex video, and now is worth $1 billion,
something like that. Like,
followers everywhere.
Everyone knows the name Kim Kardashian. Skims,
everybody
underwear,
knows it.
Perfumes, TV, modeling, Botox, BBL, porn, everything.
Another example, Rihanna.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Rihanna transitioned from music to music, and now she put 7 albums out year after year for 7 years straight. Okay, I believe it was 7 albums year after year, 7 years straight.
Right.
And now she got clothes, perfume, all that stuff. You can transition while you're on top. You could transition and make your life so much easier, and you don't have to work as much as you have to, as long as you put the work in.
And then she did the Super Bowl. She didn't even need to do that Super Bowl, but she did that Super Bowl to promote.
She didn't.
And she was pregnant. And all that did was get her exposure and attention. She's like,
more exposure and attention.
I'll go way up in the sky suspended while pregnant. Sure. It'll give me attention. It'll give me a viral clip. Usher, Alicia Keys, they got their viral clip. They got their viral moment.
Yep.
Usher's album.
They got people talking.
Usher album went nuts. Alicia Keys went nuts. Like, it gets these people back on top, and you just got to find ways to get yourself back out there. So while you're on top, ride it out. Like, find the ways to expand, learn to expand. You have to learn how to expand. If you don't know how to expand, you're not pushing yourself to expand, it's gonna be real hard for you long term. So
yeah, you're absolutely right.
But all right. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
Man, I gave so many thoughts, man. I don't
I
know
don't-
if I have any closing
I don't know if I
thoughts.
got any left, honestly. It's all out there.
I think I gave so many closing thoughts already.
I know we did a great job. I will say we've done a great job closing all our topics out and transitioning them seamlessly to the next one. Or building. Everything's been built on, more or less. So.
Well, I'll definitely say, tell the people out there to check out Feral Mr. Nice Guy. Follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, as well as on YouTube. We have a lot of great content out there. I definitely want to say I appreciate you have me on, having this conversation. This is probably one of the dopest conversations I've had so far about just child support, government, politics, everything.
Hey, man.
These are the conversations that I have in private groups with people that I know, and you don't see it often out into the world where people have these conversations.
It's rare.
So, so definitely. So I hope everybody enjoyed this podcast. Definitely go check out Feral Mr. Nice Guy. And hey, subscribe, comment, share. We're talking stuff that should be talked about on a higher level. And unfortunately, it's not getting there, and it's taking us to be able to do it.
Absolutely. I love that.
That's my piece.
I love that. And then lastly, on top of that, you can find all the links to MNG here down in the description of the episode. With the description, I'm not going to do the normal plug, but shout out to our sponsor of the podcast, the June app. That's JOON. You can find the June app, all of our deals, specials, promos, and partners of the Young Dad podcast on our link tree, which is down in the description of every single episode. It's a link in our bio, as the kids say, on all our other handles. So, MNG, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been just phenomenal.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Thank you. I really appreciate it.